Hey everybody, it's John from Six City Marketing. I'm excited to talk to you today. We're going to be doing a site assessment. Today we're going to be looking at an e-commerce site called easydigging.com. Talk with Greg, the owner, and he was really excited to let us jump into things. So I'm going to kind of just look at it and walk you through some of the thoughts and ideas that I have and things that I look at when I assess an overall website. The focus of the assessment here today will be on SEO. So if you want to check out the site, it's easydigging.com. Like I said, it's an e-commerce website, kind of a specialty e-commerce website that sells a variety of different gardening tools and digging and trenching tools. The site's been around, or the store has been around since 2007. And when talking with the owner, Greg, they have invested heavily on the SEO front. He was really interested in getting my thoughts and feedback on the website. And, it proved to be a really interesting exercise as I went through and prepped a little bit for it, because there's a lot of things that are going right for this website, a lot of boxes checked. One of the first things that you want to check out when looking at your site now, especially for a lot of the changes that have gone on these days in terms of the changes in Google and what they're looking for, you can go to tools.pingdom.com and you can look at your website speed. There's also the Google Page Speed Insights. This is the first one that I look at, though, in terms of just getting a high-level assessment on how quickly the site is loading. And you'll see here in a second, the site is loading fairly quickly. It gives it a grade of 91 from an overall standpoint, and the load time is under a second, so 177 milliseconds. It's probably one of the fastest websites I've ever seen load. So that's really good, because Google likes websites that load. It flows into good user experience. And there's a lot of other boxes checked, and I'll talk about those as I kind of go through the website. But, when you're talking about overall opportunities with the site, there's a lot you can look at. Certainly, we look at the website speed. We'll also look at the content on the website. So if I'm on the home page, I think this is probably one of the things that I do see as an opportunity here, depending upon how Greg wants to go about prioritizing things. So knowing that he's really tried to optimize the website, looks like hand tools and gardening and farming and trenching or tools for gardening, farming, and trenching is like the general keywords that he's targeting on the homepage. So I'd say, if anything, content looks pretty good on this website, but what I would say is, Google really likes substance. So I think that adding some more content to this homepage, centered around general questions that people have, usually when they reach out, or maybe about the business. FAQs are great to throw in on the site. And, you don't want to impede the user experience. So certainly putting those in towards the bottom, and maybe also just in trying to beef up the content, maybe have some little descriptive, it doesn't have to be maybe a sentence or two underneath each popular item, or maybe a little bit of description under that it's pulled from the individual product page to kind of add some more substance to it, without necessarily impeding the user experience, but it just kind of adds a little bit more substance to things. From an overall perspective on the website, it's pretty simple, which is great. The thing to keep in mind too is that this website is competing with some of the biggest websites out there, the Amazons, the Home Depots, the Lowe's, in terms of offering these types of tools. So it really is kind of a challenge in terms of you're sitting there looking at those sites and how massive those sites are and how many products those sites have and how many links are coming to those websites. It's really going to be a challenge to link for categories and individual products. So, that's the battle that Greg's fighting right now, but he's doing really well. Let's take a look at some keywords that I just kind of pulled to show where Greg's ranking, because we do, look at this as, part of an overall like health assessment as part of our process. So if I'm looking at some keyword phrases, so this is the keyword. These are the keyword themes, very, very broad, right? So garden hose, broad forks, garden forks, any of the products on the site, this tool SE ranking, which I highly recommend, shows the search volumes and then where he's ranking right now currently for specific keyword phrases. So doing pretty well, honestly, again, considering the competition. And we use this tool to kind of just say, okay, well, here's the detailed information. If I want to look at the live results, I can look at the live results. and see where he's ranking as well. So I believe it said it was fifth overall. For e-commerce sites out there, one of the things that I do want to stress is that the user experience has changed on the homepage. So I'll take a minute to kind of go through this. But if you have an e-commerce website, Google's really changed the interface. It was starting in Q4 of 2023. So you can see these are a lot of the product listings. So paid product listings. So these are some of the shop ads. Then you can see a traditional ad here, or a traditional SEO listing here. And then underneath, people also ask. So that's another variant. Some more traditional listings, then articles, then some more traditional listings, and then these are either paid product ads or free product ads. So it's something to be aware of, is that if you have to be very proactive about not just optimizing the website, but being aware of opportunities for your website to get more sales through the Google Shop Network. And again, you can see the Google Shop Network here. So if you click on the shopping tab, but again, they're intertwined in the first page listings. You can see the sponsored listings and then the free shop listings. All of these are being pulled from the Google Merchant Center. So if you have an e-commerce store and you haven't wired up Merchant Center and you haven't optimized Merchant Center, this is going to be something to do. So this is another thing that another box that's checked, at least from what I can see here, is that in looking at Greg's site, you can see that when I go to when I search for this specific product and click on the shop listings, you can see he's number one for this. This is the Euro Wheel hoe, a specialized type of hoe. I'm by no means am I a gardening expert, but seeing his listings up on here is a really good sign that he's at least addressed it in terms of like his products feeding into the search. In terms of opportunities on the website, for what I see, one of the things that I think is an opportunity, and Google's really looking for, this is kind of flows into user experience. There's a couple of user experience things here. Gardening tools. So I would take this opportunity to kind of maybe restructure the nav a little bit to add more products underneath. So I would have more of an expanded sub navigation to highlight products that go underneath each of these just general categories. One that could benefit you because people can find what they're looking for more easily, but it helps with the interlinking of the deeper product pages. So that's an opportunity, especially with a navigation that's a little bit more simplified. Something else that I'd consider as well is that the navigation structure is a little bit interesting in that this is a button as opposed to a main navigation, just link item. It works, the links work, but I mean, that might be something to address just because it's a little bit not traditional. So it might be something to look at. I don't think it's gonna, you're not gonna rank number one across the board for just changing that structure, but it could be something to look at because it is a little bit like non-traditional on the side of things. A couple other things just to note here. Again, that flows into like user experience. I talked about the copy on the homepage. Let's go into an individual product page. So here's a product category page. The higher you can have the individual products that you're listing on the page, the better, just because the more that you scroll down on the page, the less the probability people are going to see it. So that's something to keep in mind, whether you have an e-commerce site or not. But I think he does a job of listing the specific products. And remember what I said about the homepage is listing a little bit more details into the product category page to get a little bit more substance. And then he's got some pretty solid information here, assuming all of this is written in-house, and is unique. That's going to help. So I can't stress enough, you do not want to use AI tools to just write content verbatim. Even having it write it and editing it a little bit, I would stay away from, because Google's had a lot of updates early this year about really, not rewarding sites that are writing AI generated content. And if you're not sure, there's a couple different tools you can just search from out there on Google. AI content detection. Maybe somebody in-house is writing it, or somebody that you've outsourced it to is writing the content. It never hurts just to check that box off. Recently, we've talked to business owners and we've used this detection to kind of educate them on, look, this is detecting a certain percentage of AI content. We may want to revise it because Google's really rewarding people who are writing unique content from their expertise. So if we go into the individual product pages, this is pretty solid. Again, if you come into the individual product landing pages, what's the goal? Add to cart. He's got the cart button highlighted in orange. Here's the element to the left align and sub images. Again, it's like you want to see image, then headline, then add to cart. So, I'd almost consider maybe moving some of the pricing elements down a little bit, although just to kind of simplify what the sizes are, because you also will see that the cost of the sizes are listed here, just to simplify it, because it's a little bit jumbled here. If you bump this down a little bit and just have this completely focused here, you can actually make the add to cart bigger. Note that he's also adding all of these other buying options on there. That's really good. One, it's logos of trust. It's secure, but it also tells you what different types of payment options are there. Maybe even consider a buy it now if your store software allows it. Just to do that like you can do on Amazon, right? Hate to bring that up, but they do a lot of things right. And so that's something to keep in mind. I think it's just, I've looked at a couple of different product listings and there's some really good stuff on here in terms of like getting the reviews on here. That's something he's doing right. Trying to make sure that this is as much to the top of the page in both desktop and in mobile. Let's take a look at the mobile experience. So again, product, sub elements, and then you got to scroll down a little bit, but in the mobile version, I would possibly swap this to maybe get this up as close as possible to the top. And then I'd probably go expand the full width on the add to cart button just so it stands out a little bit more. But even maybe considering making this image a little bit smaller. Again, it's hard to completely replicate the desktop experience, but I've seen on some sites where it has that add to cart button like as a sticky element sitting at the bottom. So there's a couple of things that I'd look at in terms of experimenting to try and get more from the website. Again, that's more of a usability thing, but there's a lot of things that are going right on the SEO front here, which I've like illustrated. I'm cheating on my notes here. So, we talked about the main navigation. We talked about cleaning up the presentation of mobile and desktop in like an experimentation type of manner. Something else to check out is Crazy Egg. Any kind of heat mapping technology to kind of see where people are navigating on the website, what they're clicking on, would be invaluable to experiment on in terms of the things that I'm like talking about as well. It never hurts also to have like an about us in the main navigation. I know I'm all over the place here, but this is a specialty store. Greg offers a lot of expertise. Never hurts to put that at the top. I mean, you're seeing text or call at the top that shows you, customer service, personalization, maybe just a little bit about Greg somewhere on the site and linking it at the top. Two other things to note. I know we're about 13 minutes in. Greg's got some articles on the website, much like everybody does, right? So he's got a section for articles. This would be very similar to a blog-like structure. So this year, what you want to do is to make sure that you go through your content, especially the blog articles, and make sure that everything is relevant to Google. So in certain instances, and we'll look at Google Analytics. We'll look to see if these pages, these specific blog posts, especially ones over 2 years, are still getting traction. But a lot of the times what Google's looking, from what we've seen, anything over like 3 years that's not super relevant, you want to just delete and redirect or repurpose the content somewhere else so that it's a lot more updated, just because Google just values that. So it could be repurposing it, adding to it. But any of this stuff within here, I know that he's got the author on here, which is great. I'd consider putting the date on there, just to help Google out. There's also something called schema, like article schema, that you could put on here. And that also contains all this information as well. So that's something to definitely look at, consolidate, audit, and that'll do some really good things for you from an overall perspective. Last but not least, the biggest barrier to moving up, most likely, especially because you're competing. I mean, if we go back to this, let's take a look at Garden Hose and we'll look at the live results, go back to that. But, the number one, like we talked about before, right? The number one ranking site, Home Depot. There's another one called Gardener's Edge, Garden Tool Company. So, and then Lowe's. So these are the like four in front. Two are major retail brands. These other ones I'm not familiar with, but they're specialty stores. What I would be doing is looking at maybe the specialty stores backlink profiles. Something else that, because you get into links and it's like, okay, well, look, I see all these competitors. What I would do is look at, we use a tool, the Moz Link Explorer. You can go in here and take a look at, backlinks to a specific page. So I pulled up Gardener's Edge to kind of see, okay, here's the links to this exact page. I can go to the root domain of the site. And then I think this runs about, I don't know, 40, 50 bucks a month. It could be a little bit more expensive. And it comes with a bunch of different tools in terms of the Moz kit. But you can look at the domain authority, which is it's basically a score that Moz gives you. The higher the score, it's on a scale of 0 to 100, the more it shows that you're authoritative. So right now they have a 43, and you can start to you want to look at follow links, not no follow or not all links, but follow links. And you can start to see where they're getting links from. So they got a link from Illinois. A lot of these, you want to kind of take a look. Seattle Times, which is going to be legit too. Really what Google's valuing right now is quality over quantity. So in terms of generating backlinks, a couple different options out there that we look at and utilize is, this is kind of newer. The guy who started Help a Reporter Out sold the company to Cision and started a new one called Hero. So this is something you can sign up for to get regular emails for journalists looking for quotes and citations. From people who are in a specific industry, but you can answer things within your industry. You can answer things about your business, HR. There's a whole bunch of different things that you can reach out to, reply, and try to give a quote to them. And in many cases, it helps in generating links from relevant publications that Google really values. Another option is Quoted as well too, to check out too. So anything that you can continue to add from these types of sites is really helpful. I didn't have time to research it, but I'd also look at national organizations that are within the industry. So for any kind of outdoors, gardening, landscaping, any kind of national organizations that you can join and have your website listed in. It's going to do some great things for your business because it's great for networking, but it also gets you a nice link from Google that comes from a credible source. So I'd say those are some opportunities from the overall website. But yeah, this is a lot of the times, there's more opportunities there on the SEO front, but these guys have really been checking a lot of boxes on their end. So it was kind of a fun challenge to jump into and assess. Hopefully this helps, but if you guys have any questions, and I'm certainly going to be sending this over to Greg as well, feel free to reach out to me. It's John at Six City Marketing. Again, I'm John Salmon. We'll be doing more of these website assessments, so I'm happy to go through and give you guys feedback if you're interested in it. Okay. All right. Thank you.